or whoops, should I start over?
Sorry, Suze. Go for it.
Okay, so we're talking about the Hobson Music Scholarship. If you're at a high school PTA, it's actually open to all public high schools in SFUSD. So even if you're at a high school that doesn't have a PTA, please share the information about the Hobson Music Scholarship. It's for students who are interested in classical voice or piano, and it's a cash award of up to $5,000 that's then paid to the university of choice. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us at the Hobson Scholarship at sfpta.org email, or you can also reach out directly to me at suze@soda@gmail.com. So if anyone has any questions, we'll be sending out some more information. And we are also going to be looking for a couple music teachers to be judges for the scholarship. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Suze.
Does
And
anyone have any questions?
we can also drop some info in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and yeah, and really encourage students to apply.
And we're offering more this year than last year, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, up to $5,000.
Very exciting. We're
Yeah, which is a nice scholarship.
yeah, so just if you could help us get the word out, that's really, really what we need, right, Suze? We love to continue to get the word out. This is a busy scholarship season. Kids are have applied to schools, and now a lot of the students are looking at scholarships and getting them in on time. And we're really excited that we get to offer this one specifically from Second District PTA. And again, through I have the link in the chat, but feel free to reach out to us. And you know what? I'm sorry, I will share the slide deck as well towards the end. Um, so thank you so much. And now I'm going to move it to Melissa.
We're gonna do reflections too, or I see it in the agenda.
Oh, sorry, I didn't put a slide up. I'm sorry.
We don't have updates for that quite yet.
Okay.
So I can give a quick update that entries were submitted to CAPTA, and we're hoping to have that information up on the website and distribute out to all the PTAs. And we'll also be featuring reflections at the Founders Day.
Thank you, Suze.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa.
Okay. Um, so
Quick question for those of us who are not familiar with Reflections, can you just give a brief kind of overview of what the program is?
Sure. So the Reflections Art Program is a national PTA program, and every year, I think it's the year before, a theme is chosen for the program by a student. So people submit or students submit entries, and then there's a theme that's chosen, and then basically the way it works is there's 7 categories in all the different art disciplines, and students can submit artwork related to the theme. The units have their own in-house like judging. So yeah, this year it was accepting imperfection. And then once they have the judging, there's a whole bunch of guidelines and stuff that is available on both our website and also the CAPTA website to how to run the program. But then basically the entries are then submitted, the winning entries are submitted to Second District. We have our own in-house kind of judging, and then it moves on to CAPTA, and then from CAPTA it moves on to national. And so there's various steps. And then yeah, that's kind of the basic. Does that kind of answer your question? Or I think so. In general, I just want to say that San Francisco PTA and the units in San Francisco, I think because there's a lot of arts programming in the school sites already, We haven't had a huge amount of participation in San Francisco, so which is fine. But you can go check on the CAPTA website and the national website and see previous um, uh, themes and entries and winners and things like that. And also on our website, there's from the past couple of years, and we usually feature it at our last meeting of the year. Like we'll feature all the different ones, and then also at the Founders Day dinner, we'll feature all the entries that came to us.
Thanks, Suze.
Yeah, yeah.
Super helpful. Thank you so much.
And they do at the national or the California convention, they usually have a whole display of all the reflections entry from throughout the state of California. So that's kind of fun. I haven't personally seen it because I haven't been to convention, but Melissa and others have been. And
Thank you so much, Suze. And now we'll turn over to Melissa. Thank you.
Okay, sure. And do you want to share that slide so people can see the names for nominating committee?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So it it is nominating committee season, which a nominating committee is that group that we have for second district, as well as each of your PTAs will have your own nominating committee. And their role is to present a slate or a list of names to fill the various elected roles that help to run your PTA. So for second district, the volunteers this year for nominating committee are, as presented there, Suze and Karen. Karen is here as well, and Gina is fortunately out sick today. Myself and Linda is also here, and these most nominating committees will have 3 or 5 people, or at district we have 5. And so nominating committee members do need to be elected by your association. And so we're here today to ask someone to make a motion to approve these members for our nominating committee. And then I'll speak a little bit more about that and what we do. So anyone else attending?
This is Rocio. I make a motion to approve the nominating committee for second district.
Thank you. And we need a second, Melissa. Anyone want a second?
This is Yvette, and I will second.
Thank you, Yvette.
And then if there are no more questions, Tina can call for the vote. If anyone has any questions, let her know.
Yes. If you have any questions about our 5 members for our second district nominating committee, please feel free to speak up. So we've got Suze, Karen, Gina, Melissa, and Linda. And thank you all 5 of you, for stepping up to volunteer and do this important role for second district. We appreciate you. All right, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor for our nominating committee at second district? Thumbs up, raise your hand. Aye. And
Aye.
you can write yes in the chat. And give me just a minute to go through everyone's. Raise hands, thumbs ups as we go through these. Wonderful, thank you so much. If anyone is opposed to our 5 second district folks on our nominating committee, feel free to speak up now. If you're abstaining from voting, I understand that as well. I saw 27 ayes, yeses, and hands ups out of 31 of us here. So nominating committee passes.
Great, thank you. And so now that we have a nominating committee, and after you all, your PTAs have your nominating committee, it would be the role of the parliamentarian to call the first meeting to order for the nominating committee, and to sort of give them some direction and what to look for in eligible candidates. People will do some recruiting, but like we're talking about at Second District, we like to encourage, everyone to give input to the nominating committee. So it won't just be left up to the five of us. It is to create the slate, but we hope that everyone will help to talk about what it is to be a PTA board member. And again, you'll find these roles, the elected roles, in your bylaws. So if you're not sure who should be listed on your slate of nominees, you check your bylaws and see which are the elected officers. So at Second District, we have the following officers that you see on the slides. So we have a president, an executive vice president, secretary, treasurer, financial secretary, financial reviewer, historian, and 6 different types of vice presidents. There are also appointed roles, but that would not be up to the role of the nominating committee. Appointments are always made by the new president. So if anyone has any interest in serving on Second District PTA, you could reach out to the nominating committee members and let us know. Or if you have any ideas for someone else that would be interested or a great fit, we welcome your
Melissa,
input.
if someone
Thank
is
you.
interested, how can they reach out? Are there email addresses you can share in the chat?
Yeah, I don't think we have a dedicated single email address, but we can put in, there's four of us at least that are present. Actually, you could also just send it to Second District. I'll put that email in as well as mine, and maybe Sue's and you, Linda, and who else is here? Karen could put our emails in, and you can reach out to any one of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful, Melissa. Thank you so much. And yes, we'd love to, if you are terming out, especially this year, and you'd like to serve and work to help serve all our units, just like we do throughout San Francisco, we welcome your interest. You can reach out to us and just ask questions, get to know a little bit more about the roles, and see what may be a fit for you. We would love, love, love to have any of you serve on Second District PTA. Given your experience with your units yourselves, all of us have served throughout various roles in various units throughout lots and lots and lots of different units in the city. So we really just are here to support you all, and we're looking forward to continuing that and having more folks come on board and really help support all the units, and just work together to stay on top of all the exciting things that are happening in San Francisco and all the great programs and activities and work that everyone does together collectively for our students and families and staff at our amazing SFUSD schools. So thank you all for your consideration. Karen, are you here this morning?
I had one comment to add or ask. I mean, so we also at Second District have some other positions that aren't specifically listed in our bylaws that have traditionally been filled. So we're also going to be looking to fill some of those positions, but they're not as high priority. But if people are interested, for example, in arts education or reflections, they should let us know.
Thank you, Suze. That's super helpful. And let's see. Sorry, just getting back to my slides. Just a couple more things to wrap up before Dr. Sue joins us. Karen, did you want to chat?
Yes, definitely. Good morning, everyone. Just very quickly, just to report that we have 6,875 members across all 62 units. So thank you so much for that. Just continue to get the word out, about membership, to just increase the numbers. Our goal is 10,000 members. So we're very close to it. So I'm really excited about that. And if anybody needs any more envelopes to collect manual membership, just when people pay membership with cash, I have envelopes, specific membership envelopes, free to you. Just all you have to do is just get in touch with me through membership@sfpta.org. I'm happy to intermail that to you. And also, if you have any if you want membership cards, I can send those to you as well. So thank you so much. Keep signing those people up. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And I just happened to pick up the mail yesterday, and we need to get that over to Claire, but we might have some more members for you. So thank you. Yes, keep that membership drive going. You guys just went off to such an amazing start this year. We're already close to last year's total, and we hope to pass it this year and have 10,000 members in all of Second District. So we appreciate your work. Thank you so much. And I believe, sorry, let me just look at my agenda really quick. I believe that is the end of our PTA business. And I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Sue, our SFUSD superintendent. Dr. Sue, are you on?
I am. Can you all see me?
Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here today. We really appreciate that. And as Rex was sharing earlier, we had a chance to meet with you yesterday in a great check-in meeting. So thank you for making time for that. Something that we've been doing at Second District is having regular check-ins with our superintendents to keep our communication going. So if you have noticed a change this last the last year and a half, 20 months or so, we're doing a lot more engaging with SFUSD, sharing a lot of the news forward, getting the information out, and really working together as a more unified team and really getting information out. And I understand you have slides, so um, if you wanted to just take a minute to just chat about yourself and your background while I do that, you're more than welcome to do so. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Tina. And thank you, Rex, for meeting with me yesterday. I've been looking forward to meeting with you all for a while because I've heard such great things about this collaborative, about this group. I know Kathy Mookie-Meyer from my work life over in the city. And so, of course, she's talked a lot about the Second District work that she's done, and of course, continues to lend her support to me in my transition into the school district. But well, first of all, I have to say your elections looked very wonderful and seamless, and so I'm very impressed with the parliamentary work that you all do. So congratulations for that. And just a little bit about me for those that I don't know. I think I recognize and I see some faces here, but I've been in the government work. I've been doing government work, particularly in the realms of children and families, for well over almost 25 years. At this point, I started working in San Francisco for definitely 20 years, but with the city in the last 18 years. I first joined the Department of Children, Youth, and Their Families in, I think it was like 2006 or 2007, as the deputy director of the department. And then worked very, very closely with the script time as the I would say definitely closer in the last years of my tenure at DCYF, because we started building up really firm alignment around after school services, alignment around care and results for violence that happen on school sites. It was also during the time with really think about children because we designed called the Our Children, Our Families Council, where in that space we really said that is what okay. That is that children in the city aren't cities kids and they're not school district kids, they're our kids. And so when we think about how do we as a city come together to really serve our children, that really created that pivot and change in how we think about services that the city, the big city, the big we can provide to our children and families. So over the last 10 years, I've been really trying to work towards building that greater alignment. And then, of course, 3 months ago, I transitioned into this wonderful role of being the superintendent of schools here. Um, and, sometimes people ask me, well, why did you do it? And then others said, oh my God, that's such a natural transition. And I think the answer to both questions or comments is that I've been doing a lot of this alignment work between city and school district for such a long time. I've seen from the outside how the school district, unfortunately, has failed our students. And I've seen where we can build together a stronger framework to support our students and families. And so I view this as a great opportunity to kind of come in on the inside to really see what we can do together in a more coordinated, collaborative approach. So that's a little bit about me. I live in Ingleside. I have two kids. I have two boys. We started out at Commodore Sloat, and then our kids went to Aptis. But unfortunately, during the pandemic, it was really hard for my boys, and so we switched. Well, he went to Aptis, and then and during the pandemic, we switched to a private high school for the boys, and um, since now my oldest is in college, and the younger one is still in high school. Um, but my heart is, of course, always with SFUSD. I firmly believe that a strong city is measured by the strength of its public institution and its children. And so I'm very honored to be here. I'm very honored to be in this role. Tina, do you have my slides?
I do. I can start presenting.
Oh, perfect. I think I went through a little bit of the intro, so that's me. And so what Tina had shared, Tina and Rex had shared was that they wanted me to speak a little bit about who I am, but then really dive into the meat and potatoes of what's happening in the district, which is our budget, and then figure out how we can work together. So as I shared a little bit about me, next slide, please. So when I came into this district, I had committed to our community that I wanted to focus on three primary things. One is to get our budget straightened out. I wanted and I knew the importance of us delivering a balanced budget so that we can then maintain and retain control of our own budget, essentially our own destiny. So, as some of you are very, very aware, CDE still has we still have our CDE advisors, but they have stay and rescind authority. And that makes it so hard for us to hire staff, to get into contracts for different types of services, for even making day-to-day decisions on how do we reallocate funds in the district. And so the sooner we deliver a balanced budget, meaning we have to go through those really difficult cuts that has to happen, but the sooner we get through that, the sooner, quite frankly, we get to say thank you to our CDE advisors and goodbye, so that we can then really, once again, control the way we know SFUSD services and programs need to be run. So so that was one. Number two, I knew that there were, I don't know if fractured is the right word, but I knew that there were some missteps in communication and deep engagement with our community. There were many times where I heard when I was out in the community of just, I don't want to know about things by reading it in the newspaper. I want our schools to communicate directly to me. I want the district to communicate directly to me. And so I am committed to being to changing that so that I can communicate directly to families, to our educators, to our leaders in schools, because they deserve, at minimum, that. They deserve to know directly from me what is happening. And so I'm very committed to changing all of that so that we can have a closer relationship as we should. But I believe once we develop that type of relationship, rebuild that respect, the mutual respect, then we will get to a place of hopefully mutual trust, trust, because then we can get to the real place of just getting down to student outcomes, making sure that we can move towards how can we make our schools and our students successful. And then our third goal was to evaluate how we are running the shop. How are we doing business at SFUSD and trying to figure out ways for us to have greater efficiencies. Um, I think I've said this before, where I firmly believe that academic success, meaning student outcomes, can happen and should happen with operational efficiencies. We cannot be doing a whole bunch of other things and think that we can be focused enough to achieve those student outcomes that we have declared to our communities and committed to our students. So our mission is that each and every day we provide our students with the quality education and equitable supports that they deserve and they require to be successful in the 21st century. Next slide, please. So you've seen this many times where the values of the district is to make sure that we are, number one, an institution that is deeply, deeply committed to reflect the goals and the vision of our community. And we strive to do that by centering our students in the work that we do, by being bold in how we communicate, particularly, unfortunately, in this moment in our political time where we have to stand up for our students, we have to stand up for our educators and for our site leaders, and we have to be united. We have to do it together because as we are united, it will be harder to tear us down and make and pull us apart. We also have to make sure that as we do this, we keep our students, we keep the beautiful diversity of the institution, of this district at the center. And that it is through the lens of equity, it is through the lens of cultural diversity, it's through the lens of young people that we do this work. This is not about adults. This is the reason why we exist. Is so that we can move the needle for our students so that they can then live the lives of greatest potential for themselves. Next slide, please. In speaking about being fierce, being united, and being student-centered, I recognize that at this moment in time, our community is experiencing a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, um, and and just don't know whether or not SFUSD has their back. And I will say unequivocally, we do. I do. I've now stood with city leaders, state leaders, and our broader community, including labor, to say that we will create this huge force of partners with all of our city leaders and state leaders and community partners and labor partners to protect our students and families from any nonsense that will come down from the federal government. We will not allow fear and um, uh, well, fear enter into our classrooms. Our teachers will continue to support our students, will continue to honor our students the way they choose to identify themselves. We will continue to commit to supporting our teachers to do that work, to teach about all different types of cultures, to teach our students about how we as a society came to where we are and how we need to learn from our history so that we can do better in our future. And as such, I have stood on a number of press conferences to denounce the rhetoric that's coming down from our federal government around immigration rights and our trans and LGBTQ populations. Next slide, please. Oh, so far that's what we've done in my 90 days. Moving into budget. This is such a painful situation, a painful conversation. I think many of you know, SFUSD is looking at a very large deficit. And I'm not sure if you are aware of just how we came to this deficit. And if I'm talking too much about that, please let me know. Um, but we have what is called a structural deficit. Essentially, it means that it means that we're actually uh, just drawing down on our bank account right now um, and now dipping into our credit card. So we didn't budget well, and we keep using all of these one-time dollars to plug in holes. And now it's coming to bite us because we've maxed out our credit card limit. And not only that, we have to pay back the credit card. So we're running out of money, and we now have to pay back the debt that we have owed. And so that's why we have what's called the structural deficit. Um, and the requirement from CDE is that we need to address that. And the only way we can address that is by reducing our staff because, well, that's the largest way, because the majority of our budget are all people. And unfortunately, as our enrollment declines, the revenues that we get from enrollment also declines. And yet we haven't made significant reductions in our budget to reflect that enrollment decline. As such, we are looking at a reduction of $115 million for next year, and then for the following year, $13 million in reductions. Next slide, please. Oops. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm back to the budget slide. So I just wanted to reiterate the way that we're making this reduction, because $115 million represents 10% of the $1.2 billion budget that SFUSD has. Let me just say that again. It is 10% of a $1.2 billion budget. So if we can work together and figure out how to reduce 10% of that budget, and then really be laser focused on using the remaining 90% of the budget to move towards student outcomes and operational efficiencies. That is my goal. My my budget reduction priorities or framework is for us to make sure that the reduction stays as far away from students as possible. That's one. And the budget reductions take into account our legal obligations, two. And then three, the budget reductions have to prioritize the operation efficiencies of the district. And what that looks like in operation efficiencies is that if, as part of this budget reduction, the proposal is just to cut, an initiative or a thing that we were doing in the district from 5 staff now down to 1 staff. Honestly, at the end of the day, that doesn't make sense. So I've asked our team that maybe we should just pause that entire initiative and just eliminate it because it doesn't make sense to try to hobble along with just that 1 staff. And so we're going to make really tough decisions at central office first to make the necessary reductions um, to so that once again we try to keep the cuts as far away from students as possible. At the Tuesday board meeting, I shared a, a a slide that shows the way I think about central office, in that there are services that we do at central office that are district-wide school site services. And then there are services that I call operational. And so the operational services includes things like HR, payroll, budget and finance, our Department of Technology, the Office of the Superintendent, which includes our communications division, our legal division. So there are operational uh, departments or divisions under central office. But then on the site, the citywide school site services includes student nutrition, um, includes our SPED program, all of our curriculum and instructions. So there are, in my mind, a difference as we approach, as we look at deficits or reductions. We have to keep that in mind because we don't want to continue to cut and reduce. Well, we can't really cut and reduce special education services anymore. We should make sure that we have enough. Um, but there's very little to cut left on the school support side. Honestly, there's very little to cut on the operation side, but we should try to cut deeper on the operation side. So what I've asked our team for central office reduction is to propose to me a reduction proposal of a minimum of 20% and as high as 100%. So there are certain initiatives that we just say we cannot do it anymore and we need to stop. As you can imagine, those are very hard directions to give because they are very hard directions to receive. And I will say I am very proud of our central office staff who have taken that instruction to heart and have prepared for me a reduction proposal of how we can get to the 20% minimum up to 100%. So please know that central office staff are working really hard to try to get to the budget, the balanced budget requirements, and that we are going to take those cuts first before we move into cuts into school sites. I will, let's see. Oh, okay, we can go to the next slide. I think you've I think I'm talking through most of my slides here, but as you all know, the goal for the district is to achieve third grade 70% by 2027. 70% of our third graders by 2027 will be reading at grade level. 65% by 2027 will be performing math at eighth grade level. Will be proficient at math at eighth grade level. And 70% by 2027 of our high schoolers will be ready for college and career. These are audacious goals because what I'm hearing and now realizing is that even for that third grade literacy target of 70%, if we were to achieve a 70% third grade literacy rate, that would put us, SFUSD, at the 99th percentile of proficiency in the state. That is how bold and audacious that number is. In the rest of the world, we're like 70%. Shouldn't you try to achieve 100%? And yes, normally we should, but because the needs of our students are great, and that it takes a lot of time and energy and supports to get our students to read at that level, and quite frankly, across the country. That's why the 70%, if we were to achieve it, and we are actually well on our way to achieving something close to 70%, it would put us at the 99th percentile of proficiencies in the state. On Tuesday, what we shared was that for literacy, we are now inching towards a 56% proficiency for third graders. So we're moving towards the very audacious stretch goals. So just wanted to remind you that this is what is guiding me and is pushing me to keep moving forward with our budget. Next slide, please. I think some of you have seen this before. This explains why our budget is well, it doesn't fully explain why our budget is, but it gives a little bit more context of the budget problems that we are experiencing because our enrollment has declined. Our enrollment has declined, and we still have the same number of schools and same numbers of schools over the many, many years. Next slide, please. I think I've talked about this already. These are the different student enrollment projections that we are looking at to determine how we can better balance our schools and the enrollment process for our schools. I will say I was really, really excited. Hopefully I'm not jinxing myself, but I did see